Welcome, everyone. This session is meant to be an arena for a dialogue between two important generations. We will explore what role values play when younger people are looking for work, and what the future workplace may look like in the future. We hope that at the end of this session, we will have a better understanding of each other and maybe have a sense of trust, that trust is confirmed. My name is Hanne Hernes. I'm an intern at the Stavanger Chamber of Commerce, and together with Mille Isaksen, who's the project manager at ONS Young 2022, we ask the questions of whether generations have mutual trust.
Yes, thank you, Hanne. Earlier this year, ONS launched its 2022 main theme. It's called Trust, and it's the foundation of all relations and what makes people, businesses, and societies thrive. Here, have a look at this.
I am trust. I am the glue of society. I make people work better together. I make businesses, organizations, and even whole countries thrive. I am trust. I push progress for mankind. I am the basis of innovation, and I create faith in a better future. I am trust, but I have changed. You can't see me, but you'll notice when I'm not around. Without me, growth will decrease and cooperation will become difficult. I am trust, even though the world looks different. Much have changed, how people meet and interact, how companies develop, but I am still around. I am still trust. I am still the foundation of innovation, transparency, and sustainable energy. I make opponents talk, and younger generations challenge the establishment. And I still create a common ground for everyone who wants to push the world forward. I'm here today, and I'll be here tomorrow. I am trust.
Yes, trust is all around, and today we try to identify exactly where it matters the most. Generations tend to often speak about each other, but less often do we actually come together in dialogue. To explore what trust means in the workplace, we have invited representatives from different generations here tonight.
With us today, we have representing the younger generation, Fredrik Iversen, who studies political science at the University of Stavanger. He represents all the students. Named one of the top 50th women in tech in Norway, we have Nadine Ramsberg, who also works as a designer in Webstep. The last representative in the younger representatives are Benedicte Middelthon, who works as a regional coordinator and marketing advisor at DNB Corporate Banking. And she's also the head of the ONS Young Energy Committee. From the Stavanger business region, we have Kyrre Knudsen, who is a chief economist at the Sparebank 1 SR-Bank. He has previously been chief analyst at Statoil and worked for Norges Bank and the Ministry of Finance. The last representative is Narvestad, who is the managing director at Rosenberg Worley. He also has a history in the oil and gas industry and represents the energy sector. We want everyone here to be safe tonight. So due to the COVID-19 restrictions, we will only have 3 people on the stage at the same time. Of course, rotating to make sure everyone is represented. And if you have any questions during the session, please don't be afraid to ask them in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, and at first we have a look at the values that plays into business. What do young people today find valuable, and how does it affect their choices in the work life? Let's hear from Katrine Sønvesen, who is also a member of the ONS Young Committee.
So first of all, I would like to say that me as a young professional, and I think I speak on behalf of many of us, we have grown up in a time where technological changes has been made. There has been huge shifts in the digital platform, and we know how to use the tools. And we manage to use the solutions in a really, really good way. And we have the ability to adapt fast. And with that competence, we're also flexible. And by enabling employees, colleagues to be flexible in their working hours, it also creates independence in work life. But I do believe that young professionals today are more aware and they want to work to live, not live to work.
We're starting off here with two of our young guests. And Fredrik, what do you and your fellow students talk about when dreaming about the future and your role in the work life?
Well, we're talking about both the present and the future. We like to talk about how our student lives can be better and how it can be optimized. Because if we don't have a good time as students, we might not be good workers in the future. So we are also dreaming about a future where our work is meaningful and where we can have a positive impact.
That sounds great. I can agree with that. And Nadine, as a power woman in the tech industry, how are your values reflected in your work?
Well, first of all, I don't necessarily think that my values are related to my gender. I think, obviously, I care a lot about diversity, but not just between, in terms of women and men, but race and ethnicity and abilities with disabilities and ages, so diversity of all sorts. I try and create products and services that can be used by everybody, so I think there should be representatives taking part in actually also them creating those products.
I think you're mentioning some important qualities and values that we admire today. And I would like to thank Fredrik for joining us. We'll still be here with Nadine, and we'll hear from our third young representative what her values are most important right now. So, Benedicte, thank you. Welcome. What factors are the most important ones when you're thinking of what you want to work with, and how does it relate to your identity?
Well, I think that has changed for me. It was 3 years since I graduated, and when that happened, one of the things that I wanted to work somewhere where I knew I could grow, where I felt that my workplace cheered on me and really wanted to help me evolve as a worker, as an employee. But today I feel like we live in a world that is in constant change, and I feel like if I were to graduate today, I would have really focused on working somewhere where they invested a lot in innovation, because those are the companies that will move forward. So that's sort of what I feel like is important to me today, because I think that's...
And innovation is a hot topic for, I think, almost every company operating right now, and there's also a lot left to do. And Nadine, you mentioned that you are involved with diversity and also equality in the workplace. What do you think is still left to do in this area?
There's loads left to do. I think primarily just including more people in the hiring process, hiring based on merit and based on skills, not just how people look. Obviously, we try not to, but I think it still happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's important that we want the business life to take away from our values, and this is going to be our foundation for what we are discussing today. And thank you, Nadine, for now. Benedicte, you'll still be here with us, but we're introducing one of the more experienced people that are with us here tonight. from the Stavanger business region, Kyrre Knudsen from Sparebank 1 SR Markets. Thank you and welcome. So, Kyrre, you've been involved in the energy industry, as introduced by Hanne, large parts of your career. And how have you noticed that demands regarding sustainability has changed markets and industries? I'm eager to know.
I mean, I've been working for approximately 20 years. I can't figure out if I'm young or old, but I guess in this setting, I'm among the older. But working for the last 20 years and studying before that has been a really interesting adventure, also a little bit scary, because I started working in Equinor in 2010. And then it was kind of all about growth. It was about barrels, it was about more production, you know, new areas. And it was also about sustainability, but not in the kind of real sense of energy transformation. So it has happened a lot. I mean, with the oil and gas industry in Norway, Equinor, and all these roadmaps, etc., and scenarios for a more kind of renewable future. And it's really interesting to be here now. It's a big task. It's very challenging, and I mean, the one of the recent reports said that, okay, it's possible, there is a roadmap, but it's very, very challenging. So it's a lot of challenges, but it's also a lot of technology innovation going on. So I think we're living in a very interesting times. It's a big task, but I am sure a lot of people are working hard to, change it.
Of course, and sustainability is, I guess, one of the big buzzwords. Everyone are using it. Maybe it has been used a bit too much, and we have to make sure that the word still holds value, right? So do you think that young people today can trust the industries that they want to create the future they need?
It's like, can you trust your parents? Well, I hope you can, in the sense that, I mean, usually it is the parents or the older who should take a longer term view. It's a very interesting time because now it's kind of the younger with the Greta Thunberg personification of this kind of the movement, taking the lead from something which is actually a generational perspective. So both yes and no. I think one can trust that the ones kind of ruling a lot of the countries, the key institutions, obviously like the UN, EU, Norway, are taking responsibility on this issue, on the kind of climate change, energy transformation. But it's also a fact that we still don't have a solution to this challenge. So in that sense, I would say no, also that the younger had to kind of continue to push, ask, and also, establish dialogues like this, where we, try to break down the usual kind of barriers. When you're young, you're usually not on top of in an organization. So yes. I think that kind of also to be more used to having a voice for the younger in a workplace, or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm wondering, Benedicte, hearing this, and of course, you're saying that the young people should take a leadership role, which we're kind of doing with climate change. Do you think that a solution has to be presented, Benedicte, before we can trust the former generation on this?
Definitely, yes. Because I think that the problem today is that a lot of the communication going on is polarized. You sort of have two sides, and the problem is that the energy industry has lost the younger generation has lost trust in the industry, and they need to understand that when communicating. And I think that in order for the younger generation to trust the industry is like we need to build a bridge between the two areas. And I believe that for many, they need to talk in there needs to be proof. They need to say, this is where we're at, this is where we're headed, and we need to do this, this, and that in order to get there.
Be constructive and have that action plan.
Yes, and I find it as like if I were young today, I'm still young, but if I were to choose what to study, I would think about that, because being part of that transition is quite very interesting, and it fascinates me that more of the younger generation don't want to be part of it, because what is more interesting than actually finding the solution and turning it around from brown energy to green energy. And I'm hoping that the younger generation will actually think about that when choosing their direction in the future.
Yes, and what I'm hearing here is that might be our generation is a part of the actual solution, and we'll get back to that later. Thank you, Benedicte. We'll introduce our student representative, Fredrik, once again. Because, Fredrik, I am really eager to know your thoughts on how businesses today are handling the challenges that are ahead of us, and do you think that the changes are happening rapidly enough?
Well, I think that businesses are taking the challenges seriously because they know they can't afford not to. Yeah. Profit is and has always been the driving factor for change in society and in businesses. And I hope that the pandemic can, speed up the progress more. Also, I trust that their intentions are good. I trust that they have good goals, and I hope that they reach their climate goals. And I also think that we should be conscious of the fact that by not trusting them, it might be more difficult for them to actually go to those goals.
Yeah, definitely. As we're saying, that's why we, ONS has chosen trust as the theme, because we figure that it's quite crucial actually for everything we do. And Kyrre, you've heard two young voices here on sustainability. What are your thoughts on their reflections as of now?
I mean, it's inspiring and it's really important theme. So. And also the trust part, to kind of trust that, the companies that you can work within take the responsibility serious, I think is really important. It's also about creating kind of meaning at work, I think. You mentioned it, Fredrik, that, it's a sense of meaning. It's also part of identity. And I also would like to add that if you look at the generation Z, which is after my generation, which is X. Yeah. My generation was a lot about freedom, less parents taking control over your life. You could do whatever you want, basically. Yes. Not basically, but that's the key takeaway. This generation is more, your generation is more responsible. So in that, I think that we are moving in the right direction, although it also kind of goes back to the older generation that you have to take this trust seriously. You have to make, like Fredrik said, some goals which are, and also Benedicte highlighted, some goals, some plans which are actually making this a sustainable world.
Exactly, and I think it's a good thing that the young people are taking more responsibility, and I hope that we can be honest with each other, and what's better than to reflect those responsibilities also to everyone else. So thank you, Kyrre. We will continue with Fredrik here and introducing our next industry professional, Jan Narvestad from Rosenberg Worley. And Jan, it's been a strange year, right? And I'm eager to hear what has Rosenberg as like a cornerstone business in Stavanger. How are you adapting to this future demand that we're hearing a lot about today and also everywhere else?
Yeah, well, that is challenging, I would say, and interesting challenging. But first, I would like to put things in perspective. If you look at Rosenberg, this year we are celebrating 125 years with continued business. And of course, in order to do that, it means that we have been through quite much. We have seen upturns, we have seen downturns. We have seen challenging market conditions, changing market conditions, and of course we have also adapted into new market areas. And for us, it would be very important going forward to, in a way, see what is part of our core competence and capacity, and that is delivering projects. Exactly. Big project, small project, complex project. And for the moment, we are doing that for the oil and gas business. But moving forward, this will change. So we will try and focus on what we already are good at to make sure that we can use the opportunity to bring this into new market, new segment. And then in the transition, we will be standing with 1 feet in the old market and 1 feet in the other market or the new market.
sounds sensible, and as we're hearing, you're adapting to this new reality. And I know that you have younger people also in your workforce. You have been working as trainees and lærlinger, as we say in Norwegian. And do you have a sense of how their values are reflected in your workforce?
Yeah, I talk quite a lot with people, both at the office and out in the yard. And what strikes me most is that young people today are very reflected. They are very much aware of how they would like to see things going forward, and they are also very actively. So, and take one example, like for example, life. If you see life in a more holistic view, you have focus, of course, on safety, health, but also the well-being part related to the balance in their life. And I think that is a very good value, and I think it's very important, especially here in Norway, where we need to make sure that people are relaxing when they are at home, and then they are really fit for fight and deliver when they are at work.
Exactly, work-life balance is a keyword here. And Fredrik, hearing this, you're going out soon. You're as soon as finished studying, at least with your bachelor's. And what does this work-life balance mean to you when you're going out as a student?
Well, I think that flexibility is really a crucial part of the future workforce. We saw with this pandemic that we could do a lot from home, but I still think that there are a lot of things from the work, from the physical work, that we should keep in. Like, just a coffee chat with colleagues, for example, which is a really important thing that we take with us forward. But we should definitely ditch those horrendous parts like social isolation and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen that also in your student every day. So this was a bit about the values that we're focusing on today, and moving on to our second theme of the day, which is the future of work. The values we talked about now, because of this, will the future work life be any different? And what do the younger workforce expect from their future employers? So let's hear it from Kristin Kragseth, an ONS friend who joined our ONS theme launch.
The future of workplace is probably going to be different than what we have been used to. I think we have had a crash course in digital work and remote work. Things we didn't think was possible, we just had to find a solution to. And I think if we were to implement this as a normal process in the oil and gas business, it would have taken half a year of planning and half a year of implementation, but we just did it. And it's been tough on many. Some it's easy, for some it's more difficult to stay at home. But it has worked. But still, I think that we do need to have people around us. So it needs to be a balance between office and home, remote, because I think people get energized by being around people. And I think ideas are created when people come together. For me personally, I miss people. I get energized by being around people. And the good thing with me, I was lucky to get my children at home. And I probably walked more mountains in Norway than any time before. And maybe that is a good thing, that people have been able to spend time with the dear ones and really realize how valuable just a normal day is.
Yes, and as Kristin is saying, there are pros and cons to this change in our work life. And Jan, how has specifically the Rosenberg workday changed over the pandemic, and what challenges have you found?
I think what we clearly can say is that it's been an extremely challenging period. There's no doubt that when we entered into the pandemic, we had a very high activity. And then when the pandemic came in, we were challenged in many ways. We had to continue to deliver, of course, according to the expectation and commitments. But at the same time, our work processes and the way of dealing the challenges was totally turned around. But here I have to say that I'm really proud of the organization that I'm working together with, which was able to handle this, taking the challenge, where we delivered good progress on our project, at the same time that we were able to keep our people safe. And when I say that, obviously Rosenberg, we are depending on people working both at the office or out at the yard. And for people working out at the yard, there's no way that we can move that at home. But also a lot of the support function working from home needed also to be present so that they can support the activity outside. But the big changes for us, as for many else, was obviously that we introduced working from home. And I think that has been a valuable experience. I would not say everything is positive, but I think definitely that this will be a sort of a setup that we will also see in the future. At Rosenberg, we still have to look into and fine-tune this in order to see what is the optimum offset to execute our project, of course, in the most efficient way.
Yeah, so you think some of the changes are here to stay?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And Fredrik, hearing this, what expectations arise for you as a coming young employee, and how important is this flexibility? Of course, we've all been familiar with working from home, and some, at least now, starting to meet physically again. How do you think that flexibility will play into you choosing your work going forward?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think that flexibility is really important, but really it isn't the only important aspect of work. I think that the most important aspect to work, at least for me, is that the work is meaningful, that you go to work each day with excitement and thinking that you're going to change the world in a positive way. I think that's the most important part, that you have a social arena to grow on. And well, by just having home offices, we don't really have a social arena at all. We're all alone. As I mentioned, the coffee chat with colleagues is of vital importance. But I think that we should take some parts from it. I mean, I don't think I could juggle both an internship, part-time job, and positions of trust without some flexibility in my life. So it's definitely something that we should continue in some aspect.
Yeah, and I think, as you're saying, you can juggle a lot more roles, you can do a lot more things on your own time, but of course it can be exhausting. And we're going to look more into how that work and life balance is playing in. But Jan, just for, I guess we have a lot of students listening in, and I'm sure they're wondering, you as a big employer in Stavanger, what do you look for in a colleague?
I think it's important with a positive attitude. I think that is something that everyone around you, including yourself, will welcome, and you would feel more energized. I think you will have more fun. Then to me also honesty is extremely important, and I think that goes in all sides of the life, that you are yourself and you are open and direct and honest in the way you are approaching challenges, colleagues, whatever. And then the last thing, which I also think is important, is to have drive. I think it's important that you are able to motivate yourself, but also, of course, as a leader, it's important that you are able to motivate your colleagues. And I think if you have those three, that will be values or competences that can help you wherever you are in the life.
Exactly. That's good advice. So thank you, Fredrik. For now, we will reintroduce Nadine Ramsberg, who is a designer at Webstep. So Nadine, you're working, you have a different line of work, you're more creative. So I'm eager to hear, are you used to being flexible from before, or was flexibility something that was introduced now during the pandemic?
I've never had a job where I couldn't be flexible, so I don't, except for when I worked at Burger King. So I don't really know what that's like being an adult and not having that option to be flexible at work. Obviously now loads of us have worked from home. Maybe hopefully post-pandemic there will be more room for more people in more businesses and industries to work from home. But I think flexibility is important also in terms of when we do our jobs. You know, it comes down to when do we feel productive, when do we have the good ideas, when do we actually feel like working, when do we maybe need a little bit of a mental break, or even go like for a run after lunch, who knows. I think those options, I think that's a prerequisite for doing the best job.
Yeah.
And I also think that being able to offer that kind of flexibility to your employees is a way of differentiating a company from its competitors in terms of attracting the best talents.
Yeah, so we're hearing that maybe the 9-to-5 work schedule is changing a bit, and maybe that's a good thing. But doing that and allowing that flexibility, it demands a lot of trust, especially from leaders like you, Jan. So as an employer, how is it easy to trust your employees when working in a more remote habit?
Yeah, I would say clear yes. But of course, it gives also challenges, and I think the main challenges lays with the leaders and the company to make sure that they are able to give challenges, to motivate and have tasks and challenges that are really driving people that are remote. And there's no doubt that being part of a team where there is a lot of challenges and demanding for delivery, I think this goes without saying. So yes, I definitely believe that we can trust.
That's
people.
Great, and we see that the trust can allow us to do a lot of things. So do any of you have any examples of what this flexibility has allowed you to do that you maybe wouldn't have been able to do if this was just a regular workday during this past year? It's on the spot, I know, but
I don't start work until 9:30 every morning because I go to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. So but that's great. And as Kristin mentioned in the video we just saw too, she's been able to see her kids, she's been able to climb some mountains, and I think that work-life balance is going to be something we see more of going forward, definitely. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us right now. And Nadine, you'll still be here with us, and we will reintroduce Kyrre Knudsen from Sparebank1 SR Markets. And Nadine, as a young employee in the workplace, what about personal development? Because as young people working and starting out our working life, we need a lot of support from our leaders, also when working remotely. How do you think as a young employee that you both get the support and also get the trust that you can be so flexible?
As you phrase it, it's a two-way relationship.
Yeah.
I think the starting point has to be, whether young or not, whether you've been working for a long time or it's your first job, I think the starting point has to be that your employer trusts that you will do your job, no matter where you do it or when you do it. And in return, I believe that they should expect that if we need support or if we need challenges or motivation of some sort, that we will voice that and let them know.
Definitely. So being able to say what you need, I think is important. We don't have to be scared. There's no age gap in the world can stop us from communicating. Exactly. Right. That's good to hear. And Kyrre, this obviously means that it demands a lot from leaders. So how do you become a good leader in this weird, flexible, new work life?
I mean, it's a big question, and I guess it also differs a lot which kind of situation, which kind of business, which kind of organization. And I also just, I've been working for 20 years, I said. I've experienced the dot-com crisis, the financial crisis, the oil crisis, and now the corona situation.
Yes.
And I was, it's like a Chinese saying is, may you live in interesting times. And it's been a lot of interesting years, I would say. And one of the constant things is change. So how do you as a leader have or kind of have a kind of continuous prepared organization for change, and also your mindset? And it's not an easy task, but I think at once you need to have a kind of flexible mindset. Some of kind of the older school leaders used to have a more fixed mindset. We have this goal, I'm the boss, we're doing it this way. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, you can find another place to work.
Exactly.
So the flexible part, both when it comes to you and I think also filters down. And then also the kind of inclusion part, kind of how do you include your employees, I think is really important. Under the financial crisis, I still remember we had like the guy who was heading the bank at that time. He had a meeting, gathering all the teams and saying, I don't know the solution to this. It's a big crisis coming. I don't know how to solve it, but I know together we can try to sort it out. Instead of, having one kind of, just one guy deciding it all, it was kind of, so then you felt more responsible, you felt like a meaning, back to the word meaning, and also trust that, voices were heard and the solution to the way out of it was better than it used to be. So, and also I also, it's interesting with students because I speak a lot to students. I really love the kind of energy and, and also the interest, because I'm a worker or have etc. Yeah. And I usually also say, don't remember the basic, just be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Or a girl.
Or a girl.
Yeah, I mean, that will take you far also, be humble, be nice, do your best.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's also for the leaders.
Yes, definitely. And of course, this is kind of a bilateral relationship we're talking about right now, but how do you create that sense of a community in your workplace? If people are being at different places at different times, doing work at different times, how do you still continue that community feeling? I guess, Nadine, working flexible for a long time, maybe you have some experience with it?
I mean, loads of companies like Webstep that are very flexible we still have those core hours during the day. We have team meetings, obviously. We have virtual drinks now.
Yeah.
So it's all about trying to just be creative in terms of how can we meet up in different ways maybe, or just more regularly so that more people can join in instead of it being, like twice a year and hope that everybody can show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think frequent meetups of different sorts.
So kind of including work also in your private life, or at least the people that you're
at least
working
the
with.
People, because your colleagues should be, your friends also, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
And at Sparebanken and Neste Bank, how did you manage this with, I guess, a crew that's been working, maybe some of them in the same way for a long time? How did they manage the community feeling in these times?
Yes, it's been a really big change because, we have been around for almost 180 years, and some people have worked there for many years. So it was I guess it was felt as a big change, but it also kind of a sense of this belonging, meaning. So we have kind of on a team level, a lot of kind of team leaders were taking responsibilities. And for me, I'm a kind of a macroeconomic nerd.
Yeah.
And for me, it was opportunity because each week we had like this meeting, a weekly update on what's happening in the world. And actually we have a daily meeting at the first few months, which usually we just had a physical meeting, then we opened up, and then it was 250 people on Teams almost every day. Not only to get the update on the corona, the macro, the energy prices, the oil price, etc., but also, kind of sense of belonging. So you don't really, if you have a little bit flexible mindset, you don't really know what's working good and what's not working. So, but I think that this was, at least from my point of view, because, I'm working a lot of, analysis stuff to kind of also create a platform, or what you can call it, a place where, we could meet kind of every day during the first months. And I think that helped a little bit, because or else you need to do on the team level also, okay, we have a team meeting, but maybe you can't have it every day, maybe once a week. Also, like Nadine saying, I think also a lot of the co-workers are friends, so it was kind of a lot of these things going on, also just being, a good friend kind of, and taking that extra telephone, checking out how you're doing, you need to walk, etc. So it's a lot about peace and love, kind of. And if it's one good thing about this situation is that actually kind of the hearts are getting bigger, and we're taking more care of each other and being more,
Yeah, I'm yet to meet someone that or doesn't miss the socializing part of our daily lives. So Nadine, thank you so much. Kyrre, Kyrre will still be with us here. To finish it off, we are getting Benedicte from DNB back here to have some finishing reflections. And Benedicte, have you had any realizations about work-life balance or even trust this past year that you've been working also a lot from home? Has there been any benefits to this new work life you've been introduced to?
Yes, I'm very lucky to have had quite a good time during this period. I've realized that I work so well at home. It might be because I am very social, so when I get to work at home, I can definitely go deep down in what I'm working
really
with.
Focus.
Yes. And so it's been very well it's been quite good. And also, I don't think that laundry is more fun than working, so I haven't been distracted that much.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've realized is that, or one of the reasons that I think that I've thrived so much is because I know that my leader has trusted me to do my job.
Yeah.
I never felt that I had someone looking over my shoulder, calling me if I was asking me if I were doing my job, and I just hope that leaders will bring that with them in the times that we have ahead, because that has I just feel that I've been given so much trust to do my job.
Yeah, independence, responsibility.
Yeah. So I've actually found it to be quite good.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's for employers to also allow younger people to have that responsibility and independence in their work lives.
But I think it requires a lot more from leaders than it used to do, because it's when saying that I've had a good time, I think it's important just to mention that I feel if you're struggling with loneliness, then I think it's quite hard to pick up on as a leader. Yeah. So it requires a lot for future leaders and leaders today. So I'm hoping that we've learned something and that we get to keep this for the future. Yeah.
It's the choice, so you can choose what fits you the best. And we've been talking a lot about what us young people, what we need from the industries and what we need from our leaders. But Kyrre, what do you think that employers need from the younger people entering the workforce? What do we need to adapt to? What do we need to realize, or what do we need to have of skills to join to be, I guess, a productive coworker?
I mean, the educated generation coming out now is kind of have a lot of good skills. I mean, it's kind of more formal education now. I think also more are, in a way, social trained, social skills, more focus on social skills. There might be bigger difference now, but also on average, I feel there's kind of a more reflections about, how to behave in different situations. So I think that a very good starting point, so to speak. What I'm looking in, we have a lot of students working at, for example, our economics reports, etc. It's kind of, just try to understand what is this job about, kind of fast as possible, and kind of start to deliver in that, but also at the same time, what is my part on the other parts of the workplace? What are my contributions? Sometimes you are invited to think about strategy, the big questions like we are discussing now. So also be a little bit ready to take your place when it comes. And I also talk a lot about kind of a little bit about patience. When I started working, I was so impatient, after 1 year. It was okay, what am I going to do now? What I'm going to do in my life. But you also, after a few years, you also be a little bit more comfortable, and you have a path, and it takes some time, and suddenly the opportunities come. So in that way, I expect people, doing a good work, being nice, and also a little bit of this challenging, but also find the right occasions, because it's a little bit hard to be challenged every day. But I mean, if you don't have these possibilities, then you have to raise your voice. But and a lot of new energy. Like I said, I talk a lot to students. I think it's a lot of talents out there, and I just welcome you into the working adult world. So
that kind of independence that we want, and the meaning that we want to have in our workplace, the influence that we want to have, it also demands of us young people that we are seeing what our role really is, understanding our broader team, and also making sure that we're building bridges with our other colleagues. I think that's what you're saying in a sense.
But I think it's important. I just want to add that I love working from home. But I think it's very important that we get to create a healthy relationship between being at home and staying or being at work, because it's very hard to to engage if you don't know your colleagues.
Yeah.
And to be
to go out there and take your place.
Yeah. So creating a good balance between the two it's going to be fascinating and interesting, and see how that will go in the future.
Yes, and for us young people to join the workforce, there needs to be jobs. We have recently all seen the report from the International Energy Agency recommending that Norway does not need to look for more oil, explore more, to reach or to stay in line with the Paris Agreement and the goals there. So, do you think there are still going to be jobs left in the energy industry after hearing this message?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it that, it's a lot of jobs already and ready for kind of transformation of the energy business. But I think just to note on that debate in Norway, I was a little bit kind of sad when I read the newspapers, because it was about not exploring more for oil. I mean, this report is actually a call for action for a lot of renewable energy.
Yeah.
And then if you succeed on this massive challenge of, producing wind and solar energy, sustainable energy systems, batteries, etc., hydrogen, CCS, then you don't need the oil.
Exactly.
So if you just start by not exploring more, you will actually make the problem probably bigger in the short to medium term. So I hope the debate in Norway will start to shift about, the opportunities. This report actually says that from now until 2030, it will be created 20% more jobs with this roadmap.
Yeah.
So obviously oil and gas will go down, but the renewable jobs, energy systems, etc., will increase so much that the total will be 20% more. But then Norway has to be ready. And that's also why I'm looking at the big, companies in Norway like Equinor, which have started, travel towards more renewable. But I think there is a room for, upping the game. We can look to Denmark. The Danish company Ørsted, formerly known as Dong, an oil company, is now kind of world leading in a lot of going on, a massive value on the stock exchange, etc. A lot of interesting projects. So, and also in Norway we have the competence, but we need to kind of should take care of what we already do, but we also probably need to raise our ambitions, because we have the opportunity of really being a part of the energy transformation which is going on.
Yes, and in the beginning we mentioned that to have trust in our former generations, we need to have the solutions there. They need to be working on them, but I think there's room for us to be a part of that solution, and I think so maybe trust is what has to come first. And that this is what actually will be the secret ingredient to the solutions that we need for a sustainable future for all of us. And just to wrap it up, I guess on a more personal note, I'm just wondering, with the main theme for ONS being trust, what does trust mean to you? I don't know if anyone of you wants to start. But
well, it's the core of everything we do. Trust that we'll find a solution to the energy issue that we're facing if we're not going into more greener energy. Trust in our family life, in our job. So as I said, the trust that I've been given at work has actually been the reason that I've had experienced such a good time during this period. So I believe that it's a core value that we all should have, and we need to explore how to make people trust you and trust the things that we're doing.
Definitely, it's important.
Yeah, it's very important, and I think also being in Norway, we are kind of a trust-based society.
Definitely.
So we kind of have an advantage probably, also when it comes to when you look at the businesses, organization, which are not very hierarchical. It's kind of trust-based, kind of flat, which also can enable us to do changes faster than in a kind of more stricter hierarchy, or So, but I mean, it's also a word which includes a lot.
Definitely, yes.
And I think it also kind of means, in Norway, since we have kind of high degree of trust, it can mean other things in other countries.
Yeah.
But maybe the kind of this trust-based model and for the energy transformation, I think it's key for the traditional oil and gas business to, if you're going to work for them, to create trust that even though we are not there yet, and even though our plans are not there yet, you can trust us that we will raise our ambitions and do whatever we can to, to reach the sustainability goals of the energy transformation, etc.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to end our little dialogue here at Rosenkildehuset. Thank you so much to both of you. It's been great hearing everyone's reflections sitting around the room right now. We're sad that we couldn't have every one of you on screen. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mille, do you think we got the trust between our generations confirmed?
Well, I think at least we gained some truly valuable insights, and maybe we see that trust is actually all around us. And I think that what we will find is trust is there. We just need to awaken it. We need to bring it back. It doesn't feel like we've been talking about trust for a while. So bringing it back and realizing how important it is, and having that mutual trust in each other, I think will be what, as we're saying today, will solve our challenges.
Yeah, I hope this is not the last time we will get together and have a dialogue like this.
No, definitely.
And I want to say a big thank you for our guests here today, and to all of you at home for watching us and giving all the support you can. And we hope you gain some valuable insights as well, and that you recognize how trust is all around us.
Yes,
have a nice
thank
evening.
you.
Yes, thank you.